Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Glory video, or should I say SaltCast episode. I think the SaltCast is the best name.
So yeah.
And joining me once again is the Admiral of the High Seas, the man, the myth, the salt himself. It is Simon! Simon, how are you doing?
I'm all right, yeah?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's a time recording, a fine Monday afternoon, and yeah, it's all right. It's cooled down a little bit. It was a bit warm over the last few days, and us British, we don't do well with heat. But it's gone back to...
After we live in brick houses with small windows and
It's true.
no aircon.
It's true. It's gone back to the interminable grey that we know and love now. But we shouldn't be like two old housewives gabbing about the weather. We should get into what the people are really here for. Did you almost drown on your drink then?
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit too much.
For someone who's meant to be an admiral, you didn't do very well with that liquid-based situation.
The deck was shifting.
Yeah, brilliant. We should definitely get get Evan to put like an effective where your camera just sways side to side slightly.
You're gonna have to get Evan to replace my grumpy face with my new my new character that's AI designed for me.
A new AI character. It's Smiling Simon.
The Necron Admiral.
Is there a new? Is there one out there, or are you just saying? Have you sent it to me? I've not seen it.
You commented on it.
Oh, I don't remember.
That's a lie. I'll tell you what.
Bro, I'm like a goldfish. I don't remember what happened like 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, well, I think you were about to forget we were supposed to be doing this today till I reminded you, didn't you?
No, I actually had remembered. I had remembered. I'll hold up and say I've forgotten something, but I actually did. And now don't drown. Now.
I'm thirsty.
All right. Well, look, we've talked about weather. Simon's almost drowned on camera. This episode is off to an extremely shaky start as it is. Let's try and actually talk about something meaningful. Simon, I have one word for you.
Yeah.
Heresy.
Yeah.
What was it like? Blowing the cobwebs off, giving the poop deck a good scrub. What was it like?
It's a really good fun game. In general. It's just scratches a completely different itch, I think.
Because you've been working on your Raven Guard in general, both 40k and 30k, for a little while now, and
well, to be fair, the heresy I did in 3 months because I had the event, so I had to get off my arse and actually do it. So they're not quite as detailed as my 40k, to be honest. They don't have squad markings, and there's fewer, and obviously, I had 10 las cannon people and 3 contemptors. But yeah,
the las cannon squad was really interesting. I think they were quite a concentration of firepower.
Well, we're going straight. Yeah.
We'll go straight into it. Well, for the viewers' sake, we played a game of Heresy. It was a live stream game. By the time this video goes out, it will have been like 2 or 3 weeks in the past. But if you've not seen it, please do go and check it out. But it was my militia versus Simon's Raven Guard. Now, Simon, you played a bit of Heresy before, but it was like a year or so ago. It was a long time ago. So it was very much you blowing the cobwebs off and me playing my second ever game of Horus Heresy, and so you were running your Raven Guard army, but it's a little spicy because it's got like 3 contemptors, which a lot of people would say is spicy, but I don't know.
No, I think wow. I mean, that was kind of what I could get together when I went to Warhammer Fest. Most of the stuff was on back order, so I couldn't get like the jet bikes that I wanted.
Yeah,
so that's why they're in there along with the contemptors. I mean, it scratches a really different itch because there's so many. For me, it's a Space Marine game. That's
disagree.
Yeah, well, you will, but we'll get onto that. because there's so much cool shit you can do with Space Marines in it. And that's, I think, you know, you're looking here, you've got the Spartan assault tanks, you've got different land raiders, you've got mastodons, you've got, I mean, I don't even know what Scorpius missile tank is, but that looks pretty cool.
I think it's like a whirlwind.
Well, yeah, you know, you can get Hunter Car Terminators, you can get Scimitars, you know, you can get all the really cool stuff that if, you know, I'm just almost at the end of the horse, you know, Battle of Siege of Terror now, all the stuff I've been reading about for the last God knows how many years. And you can do that with Space Marines, which is wicked cool.
Yeah, I think.
But then you decided to not do that, and you've gone, I'm just going to play 40k Imperial Guard on a bigger scale.
I will not deny that. In fact, I will endorse it. In fact, I know what I was doing. Hell, I liked it. I'd do it again.
Well, yeah, not against me, you won't.
Come, Simon, take on the hordes of conscripts once again. You know you want to, baby. You know you want to.
A massive misrepresentation of that army.
What?
I think it is. How many points did you have in conscripts?
200.
You what? Sorry.
200.
Yeah, but how many points?
200.
Right. So actually, it was 2,800 points of tanks.
Oh, well, I had the other infantry as well, but the actual conscript levies were 250-man squads, which were 100 points each. And then I had 6 squads of regulars, which are 80 points each. So
yeah,
80 times 6 is 480.
Plus 200 points of levies.
So 680. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's enough, right?
Right. So essentially what you're saying is like 2,300 points worth of tanks.
What's wrong with that?
So it's not a levy army, is it? It's a tank army with a few
How dare you, sir? My army hailed from an industrial stronghold. That is the provenance of war that I took, and that is the provenance of war that I lent into. The worlds of the Imperium, there's a million worlds, all with their own unique culture, Simon. My culture just so happens to spam infantry and tanks. And it looks at it, and it seems that it is all. It will do it for 10,000 years. If I was a betting man. So, but okay. So you said you felt there was too many tanks.
I would that would not how I would ever play Heresy.
Okay, well, Simon, tell us, enlighten us. You are here. You are the Admiral. You are the Salt Man himself. Yeah, what is your vision of Heresy? Because there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, Heresy for me is cool, different Space Marine stuff that you can't get. Different characters, really flavorful Legion-specific units. You know, Moritats, I mean, they look wicked cool. You know, you've got all sorts of different tanks and upgrades and, you know, vigilators.
I had all sorts of tanks. I had all sorts of tanks.
Rage had 40k tanks.
They were... The Malkador is not a 40k tank. I had one of them.
You had one tank out of, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 tanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
What more do you want, man? It's 100% more. It's an infinite amount more than I'd run in 40k.
Well, there is that. I can give it. I can't argue with this. Like I say, listen, it's horses for courses. That, you know.
No,
for me,
it's okay.
For me personally, it's like we play different games for different reasons. You know what I mean? It's you know, I when I look at bolt action armies that are like really skewed to be competitive, I really dislike them. I know we talked about tanks and the amount of tanks in 3rd edition. You know, for me, bolt action is a game you play with realistic army lists. It's, you know, that's for me personally. That's how I like to play it. Heresy is really cool. Legion-based armies would be my, and 40k gives you, scratches the other itch.
So I've described Heresy after play. So when people talk to you about Heresy, they often say it's it's just Space Marine versus Space Marine. That's boring. And they often also say it's just 7th edition. And I actually think both of those things are wrong. I don't think describing it as Space versus Space Marine is in any way, shape, or form, because the Marines play very differently. Like if you look, for example, at like a pretty spicy Imperial fist list, but one that you can't blame them for taking because it actually really fits into their like way of fighting. It's a whole bunch of dudes with boarding shields and bolters, like, and they're all standing, next to each other, close order style. That's so cool. Yeah. Then you come over to Raven Guard, and it's Dark Furies deep striking from the sky, and then you go over to Death Guard, and it's quite a horde of Marines marching relentlessly forward. You get bonuses for not deep striking onto the board. You know what I mean? You get bonuses for like not coming in front of us.
That is really cool, that rule. I like
Yeah, you get bonuses. Like any unit that didn't deep strike gets these bonuses. It's really really cool. So each Marine faction does play very, very, very differently. It's not like 40k where there are certain Marines that play differently. Like I would say Blood Angels do play very uniquely with like Death Company and Sanguinary Guard and stuff. But then there are those times when someone brings like a Death Company tank list and you're like, not Death Company, a Blood Angel tank list, and you're like, okay, this is just Red Marines. In 40k, there's always that element of it's just Red Marines, Blue Marines, with a few exceptions where like armies play uniquely. In 30k, it feels like each legion does play in quite a distinct manner, and if you're playing it as the designers intended it, I think that comes across very well. And I was just using bolt action as a parallel here. As you said, it's very easy to skew bolt action. Turn up 4 Nebelwerfers, minimum infantry tax, complete min max it, and you'll smash everyone you come across, but it also looks like shit, frankly. It looks like shit. And then you've got the games that we like to play where we kind of, you don't mind if I'm bringing like 2 or 3 light and medium tanks, but if I'm just turning up with like...
It's my one Italian tank.
Versus your one Italian tank. But if a couple of Matilda 2s versus an Italian tank, that's actually feels right. But if I'm there, you've got one Italian tank and an auto blender, and I'm there, Churchill, Cromwell, Sherman, Achilles. It's just like, and then I've just got a couple of infantry squads just doing objective. No. So it requires that sort of understanding on both sides. So I think that Heresy is the bolt action of Warhammer. You can, you can bring an army that looks like shit and it's really powerful. Or you can bring an army that feels right and will look right and the game will feel right. It's how the designers intended it to be.
I mean, no one says bolt action is just humans versus humans, do they? I mean... No,
exactly.
What faction are you going to play? Eldar? No. You can't. I'm saying, it's literally,
Yeah, it's true. Like, bolt actions, I think bolt action, it's a good point, though. No one says bolt action is humans versus humans. The way that you play your Germans is very different to the way that you play your Brits and your Americans. And even though every model's got fundamentally the same stat line, the armies play very, very differently.
Yeah, and that's what, for me, I think that's, it will be interesting to play against, if we're going to, do it again, will be, to play against, what do you call them?
Solar Auxilia?
And see how they play, because they got some pretty cool stuff. Looking at the models and stuff, they look quite good fun.
Well, Simon, I don't mean to alarm you.
Yeah.
But the way that they play and are meant to play is big bricks of infantry and Leman Russes. Like, that's how they're meant to play. So
yeah. But not.
You're gonna get upset. No. The whole thing is tercios of tanks and tercios of infantry.
Yeah, but you're not going to get that many infantry and that many tanks because it cost a few more points. That's my point.
Am I not, Simon? Am I not? You underestimate my power.
How many infantry and tanks could you get in 3,000 points?
Okay, I have 3 lists already built for this.
Right, okay. And what's the most tin list?
200 infantry, 10 Leman Russes.
Right, okay. Which is a significant difference from, 200 infantry plus versus 13 Leman Russes, a Malpador, and a Baneblade.
That's true. That's true. So if you're, I mean, if is that an acceptable list, Simon? We'll get it in. We'll get it. Viewers, officers of the watch, mark the time. Mark the time.
I think the other thing as well, to be honest, is and it only struck me when I got back home the other and I sat there and I was like, actually, we just played that game on Planet Bowling Ball.
Well, that's kind of how Heresy is. The terrain is a lot less L-shaped.
Well, in that case, I think that's a massive weakness of the game because I was thinking about this that you didn't have to move your tanks until turn 5.
Yes. Yeah, but it's because terrain works differently. It's because obviously there's always room for improvement, and I'm not saying that I would never add any more line of sight blocking in, of course. But because Heresy line of sight is done based on true line of sight, not done on this square is arbitrarily this tall and unseeable. It's always going to be there's going to be other, but then that sort of balances out with the fact that you have to actually get your gun to see the angle. So there is ways of creating line of sight blocking areas for sure. I think there's also the fact that terrain is less important because of the way the AP system works. So you can have, do you see what I mean? There's less of that.
We're going to disagree on this one, I think.
Okay, well, that's all right.
Having been on literally, because we could have just played the Siege from Vrax. I mean, that was literally the Siege of Vrax game, but just with Space Marines. I think that, where actually I came in deep struck, killed 80 points worth of militia, and you went, haha, here's my 12 tanks. And you can't hide from them, you can't do anything because...
But you're acting like you're lost. You're acting like you're lost, Simon. You didn't lose the game. You didn't lose the game, Simon.
I'm coming at this from purely a fun point of view. So, it's probably a lot more fun when you're the one rolling, shooting dice for 40 minutes, and then than if you're the person who's rolling saves for that 40 minutes. And so I think that was a big key, that actually if you are running that kind of list, you do need to have some way of actually forcing some interaction other than here's my shitload of shooting.
See, this all makes sense to me because you play Raven Guard, and so you like to skulk in the shadows. You like to skulk in the shadows like the cowardly cur that you are. And I, leading the brave forces of the Mordian militia, the Mordian first, will march upon the enemy. You could not withstand our fury, sir. You could not withstand our fury.
March, your tanks just sat there.
I did march, but you then marched back, and my guys pissed themselves in melee. So I could only march so far forward.
But yeah, I mean but all joking aside, you can knock L-shaped ruins all you want, and they are, the build. It does not look like a nice battlefield when you've got all the L-shaped ruins. Get that, but actually, having big blocks of line of sight blocking terrain actually forces people to interact with game systems more than not.
I would say to a certain extent. I think this is a good time to sort of bring this topic in because we have had a little bit of a chat about this offline. I think 40k has gone too far with it. I think there are a myriad of factors that have made 40k go too far with it. So, for example, if you look at boards like WTC boards, for example, the ones that we play at Warlord Teams, those are so dense that the terrain is so dense that entire models can be locked out. Like, I can't bring a Baneblade. Most people can't bring super heavies to those boards because they cannot get out of their deployment zones.
No, I don't disagree with
like,
that.
They had to bring, like, the rules for knights to be able to walk over, like, ruins. That was brought in because the terrain was so dense. It was getting to the point where the concept of having a gap that knights could walk through sideways, even that was becoming impossible. So I think 40k has gone too far with the L-shaped ruins, and I also think that the L-shaped ruins are a bit of a comfort blanket. In fact, you know what, Simon? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to upset a lot of people right now, but I'm going to say it, and I think it needs to be said. 40k community, melee armies, L-shaped ruins. L-shaped ruins were brought in for pussyo, whiny bitch melee armies that couldn't be bothered to figure out how to get from point A to point B smartly. So instead they were like, I'll just hide behind my ruins and then I'll charge out on things I can't see. Because tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm saying you are wrong.
Okay, why am I wrong?
Because unless you've got a mechanic that lets you get from A to B in one turn, then there is if you can give me another mechanic that says how you get from point A to, and I agree with you that a lot of boards are too dense, but having just played on the complete opposite, where there was zero cover, like literally zero cover, that you go too far the other way, and that's just as obnoxious.
Yeah. So I agree. I agree that could be too far both ways. But I will answer your question.
Should the melee army be able to get from point A to point B the whole game without ever being shot at? No, absolutely not. Completely agree with you. Should you be able to bring super heavies and play them on the table? Yes, absolutely. Should you play on a bowling ball? No. It's like anything. There's like the whole thing now. There's either your team no cover or team L-shaped ruins. There's no nuance. There's no middle ground.
There should be a middle ground, yeah.
That's my point, is that actually L-shaped ruins are pug ugly, but actually having a reasonable, I do this thing, I don't like doing this, but reasonable amount of actual line of sight blocking terrain, however that looks, or ideally it would look proper, forces people to interact with the game, as opposed to just going, I'm just going to sit here and just shoot you.
So I agree, gun lines are bad. That they've always been bad. That's why do you think people hated Tau so much and get in editions like 6th, 7th, and 8th edition? Because we hadn't.
You just ran 30k. You just described 30k Tau army.
Yeah, no, I have basically. Yeah, but but I would say
enough to become the thing that.
No, I would say it was more of, if I was being absolutely honest, it was out of a position of ignorance than a position of malice, because we're still getting to grips with the game. We're still getting to grips with the game.
I think that's one of the learnings from the game.
Yeah.
That actually, and I think we learned that when we played narrative 40k as well.
Yeah.
That you do have to make some compromises between, a really amazing looking board and a really amazing gameplay experience.
Yeah.
And that's, if someone can invent that and come up with it and go, there you go, they'll be on to a winner. I don't think anyone's quite cracked it, with WTC terrain, UK TC terrain. And we've played, we've also played the exact opposite when we went to Adepticon 3 years ago, and it was player-based terrain, and it was like, here's 3 Necron crystals, and
it's Planet Bowling Ball beyond anything I've ever seen, even beyond what we played, with this Heresy game. Yeah. But going back to your thing, you said give me one mechanic where assault armies get from point A to point B. I'll tell you what it is. It's called dedicated transports.
Yeah.
Why? See, when was the last time you actually back in the day, dear viewers, there was a thing called Rhino Rush, and World Eater players used to put their berserkers inside rhinos, and then the rhinos would come forward, and what would happen is the World Eaters would get like blown out of their rhinos, and then they would then charge forward. And the whole thing was that you had to crack open a transport to then kill the thing inside. And you could do that to a certain extent, but you couldn't necessarily do that across the whole board. So then that's the World Eaters would get in and start chop. And that was the whole thing. That was how, but now, when was the last time you saw anyone bother putting World Eaters inside rhinos? I mean, it might change now with the new codex. We're speaking from the codex has only just come out. We don't know what the World Eater meta is going to be yet.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, no one puts assault units inside dedicated transports unless it's something like a land raid, and it's like one assault unit inside one transport. The rest of the time, I'm going to take them on foot slogging. I'm going to spend turn 1 running them behind all the L-shaped ruins, and then turn 2, I'm going to have a go turn. And it's like, well, that shouldn't be. You shouldn't just be foot slogging across the board as a melee army. I mean, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So I think,
but
this is where I think you come in. Yeah.
So then, devil's advocate, then all you need to do is, I don't know what the answer is, but having then come in where in that game, we're getting onto a wider topic here, and not
that's okay. Well, no, we don't mind. We're sort of drawing some comparisons.
It's very easy then just to go, particularly as a guard commander, you go, right, well, there's 200 infantry, and then as soon as you get snarled up in that, here's tanks behind you, and so it is a delicate balancing. That delicate balancing act, it really is, and I don't know what because if you're then running a melee army, you're then going to have to spend 500-600 points on rhinos, so you're just paying a tax to actually be able to use your mount. I don't know. It's an interest. Saying all that, my Emperor's Children list that I'm literally started building this morning.
Nice
is going to start. It is going to have 3 or 4 rhinos in it. So
yeah, it's not a tax. See, I hate this term. Tax. Okay, A, in real life, but we won't get into that. And B, I don't like this term tax. Oh, I have to take a tax of a rhino to get my melee unit into combat. It's like, no, you're taking a unit that is a force multiplier. It's a facilitator. Not every unit that you will take in a game will be a full 360 no scope 420 blaster every single time. Some units are just there to facilitate. Some units are there to be support units. And these days, no one likes taking support units. No one likes them. People just go, if it can't fist someone, I'm not having it in my army. That's what people are like.
No. I think the point is, playing devil, if you're running a melee army and you've got to run, I've got 2,000 points, of which 600 points, whole point of that is to get my army from point A to B to do what it does. If you're a guard commander, someone then turned round, if the guard community and someone went, absolutely, but you need to spend 600 points on some ammo carrying transport to keep your big guns firing, there will be uproar. You would not be going, oh, well, it's a support unit. You'd be going, I'm being taxed to fire my guns.
I think that's different because it's not. I get what you're saying, and we're not going to get into the nitty gritty. But I think what I would say is it's slightly different because that's not a mechanic within the core rules. That's like a. I know what you're saying. It's only. I'm not going to pick apart like a off the cuff example, but I don't think it's quite the same thing. But I see where you're coming from. But here's the thing. I think there needs to be more. This is something that I think there needs to be more onus on players improvising, adapting, and overcoming. There's been too many examples in 40k recently where people have just bitched and moaned and whined, and then the game's been nerfed or been changed. And then rather than just fixing their armies themselves. A great example of this. 2 examples. Both guard related. One in favour of the guard, one against the guard. Firstly, Tempestus Aquilans. Tempestus Aquilans were, and I love this. This is someone in my chat came up with this. They said Tempestus Aquilans are the IQ stat check. And I love that. Because people were they're the IQ stat check. Because people were complaining that you could rapid ingress them 3 rapid ingress them 3 inches in front of assault armies, then assault armies couldn't punch through. They were like an instantly deployable screen. Here's the thing, and then people saying, "Oh, then you can spend smoke grenades on them, and then they're hard to shift with like shooting." Here's the thing, motherfucker. That's 2 CP. Firstly, so that's expensive in a game where we only have 10. In theory, we only have 10 in a round unless you got Lord Solar. So that's like 20% of my CP to do this one maneuver. And 2, even if we just take. Let's say you just do the rapid ingress thing. You can't clear 10 guardsmen. What are you doing? Why have you built your list that you can't kill 10 guardsmen? Like, think about this. They come in after you've moved, so it's not like it's not like I can hold you back with them. They come in after you've moved. If you haven't got the capacity in your list to clear 10 guardsmen, you're the problem, motherfucker. But guess what? People bitched and moaned and complained about them, and now they've been nerfed into oblivion, and no one takes them. And then you've got the other side of it, which is so people rather than adapting, people just complain until the game state changed. I know I'm going off on one, Simon, so I'll let you come in a second. But my last thing I want to say here, a lot of guard people are going to be very upset with me. Scions should have lost Deep Strike. I will say it once. I will say it again. Scions should have lost Deep Strike. No one could look past their noses. If you thought that keeping unnerfed Bridgehead with Scions of Deep Strike was going to last longer than a fart in the wind, again, you were the problem, motherfucker. And now you're the reason why no one runs even 5-man squads of Scions in their army anymore, because they're so damn expensive. And Bridgehead got nerfed into the fucking ground. Do you know what would have been better? If the Scion community, if the Guard community had gone, okay, Scions have lost Deep Strike, I could bitch and moan and cry about this, or how do I get them to trigger that Bridgehead ability? Oh, you get it from jumping out of transports. Oh, well, my Scions are only like 100 points now because they've lost for a 10-man squad. They've had a points buff. Well, that means I've got more points left over to spend on Tauroxes. You don't need a Taurox Prime, a basic Taurox. And so Bridgehead goes, and Bridgehead is described as having like mechanized units, fast moving units, all this kind of stuff, as well as having things like Deep Strike down. Suddenly, you are improvising, adapting, overcoming. You've got your ability, we've still got +1 to wound. You've got your Taurox, you've got your Scions, which are cheap. They've got just as much firepower as they've ever had. And now they're a little bit less efficient because you're having to pay for the transport. But that's how indirectly the whole thing gets toned down. But no, people went, boo, Deep Strike, boo, and now no one uses them anymore. All right, I'll shut up now. I'll shut up. But that's my point. I think people need to improvise, adapt, and overcome more.
Fair enough.
What do you think, Simon?
I just think you need to have a right amount of terrain. So that was my point. I think if the game and the community could figure out how much terrain is good terrain, then the world would be a better place. But I think that the world peace would be easiest to solve than how much terrain should go on a mini wargaming board.
I do think there's an element of the needing more terrain argument, I think, feeds into the wider thing we're talking about, where I think people should be adapting. Like, when you go to a tournament, Simon, if it's UKTC terrain versus GW terrain versus a WT terrain, you would adapt your list, wouldn't you? You wouldn't bring the same list each time. You'd take the terrain into account.
Yes, but then you're also, that's right. If we go back to the Adepticon 22, when there were like literally 5 sort of pieces of terrain per board, I think that's what it was. It averaged. Some had 6, but the vast majority had 5, and they were sort of, a fist size kind of Necron crystal or something, like that. And it's all very well saying adapt, overcome, blah, 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 blah. But actually, if you're in a situation where you are a foot-slogging army and you are going into a tower gun line and there is no cover, there is no adapt overcome at that point. You have got no play. You've got no. Yeah, you can say we're going to take, and then if you're going to get into transports, right, that's a fair point. You then have to get into point adjustments, because actually, if the game is built at 2,000 points is balanced, but then all of a sudden one side has to take 600 points worth of transports and the other doesn't, and everything else is priced the same, then it is a tax. I mean, you can say no, it's not, and it's there to support, but actually it needs to be priced like that, and the other units need to be priced like that. So I get the whole balancing thing is incredibly difficult. But we played, if you look at the good games, that the absolute best games we have played, where you're then talking, you have to think in the movement phase, right? How do you make people move in the movement phase? Getting line of sight on stuff is one, and I'll tell you the best one of that, the best example of that is when you play bolt action, and it's like, right, do I move this tank to try and get a shot next turn, but then I'm going to open myself up to your anti-tank gun, or you're going to trigger your ambush? So they do that really, really, really well. And actually, if you're playing bolt action, you can run across some open cover. You're going to take a few casualties, but you're not going to get blown off the board. So when we play bolt action, we generally have less line of sight blocking terrain on the board, but it never seems such an issue. But when we've played narrative 40k and we've not quite got it right, then it absolutely skews the game, because the game's more lethal.
I agree 100%. It might be because bolt action has massive hit when you move.
Yeah. So I don't know what the answer is, but if you want to make people play in every phase of the game, terrain is massively important.
Yes.
And I don't think we got it right the other day. It looked like it until you actually got into it, and then if I was my thing is, what would I have done differently if I was playing that game again? And I appreciate we can't, but if I wasn't playing that particular detachment or whatever they're called in, I wouldn't have won that game, because I got 4 points for killing your your warlord. Any other list doesn't do that, so it would be, how would I do that? I'd bring a completely different list. So I thought it's such a good game system. Really, really enjoyed it. For me personally, and it is only my personal opinion, it's playing cool Space Marine shit, with really fluffy and great characters, and I'm actually giving me the bug to finally get round to doing my Night Lord's army. I'm just looking at the bloody, what do you call it? My Emperor's Children. That I'm thinking, oh god, I've got to do that next.
Sell them, buy Night Lords, go full heresy.
No. I want a melee army for 40k, because it's the one thing I don't have.
I'm only teasing.
But yeah, I think the best games, and certainly the best games of 40k I've played in general, a lot of it has come down to movement, and I think the best way of doing that is literally is having a decent terrain setup.
I do think movement wins games, and I think that philosophy, personally, I think that transcends all game systems. 40k, 30k, bolt action, old world, movement wins games. And I think it basically comes down to the fact that if you outmaneuver and that comes down to history. How many battles in history were won because one side outmaneuvered? Great generals were not generals that could just shovel men into the meat grinder. They were generals that could had the art of maneuvering. Like off the top of my head, Napoleon was was a fantastic general. And one of the reasons he was so good is because he came up with the core system, which allowed him to break his army down into smaller cores, which all looked after themselves, rather than having a massive brick with a slow-moving baggage train. And so he always used to catch, in the early days, obviously other armies then adapted what Napoleon had come up with, but he used to have his core, the speed at which he could move was the thing that typically won him engagements. And so I think it's interesting how movement and maneuverability is the most important factor. And I think it's reasons why armies like Eldar, edition in, edition out, are always overpowered. And it's because when your army is fundamentally built on I go fast, you have got an inherent advantage baked into your army. And that's okay. That's all right. Like, it's just, that's what people kind of need to realize. Now, one thing I do want to throw out there is, and we're sort of talking about, again, we're talking game system wide at this point. We're talking high level, but it's interesting how it filters into bolt action and 30k, but it all filters in. But you're looking at this through a 40k lens for a moment. You made a really interesting point earlier about, like, it's all well and good saying improvise and adapt, but not every army can do that. I think that is I think there's a little thread I want to pull at there. I think you said you've got Emperor's Children, and they're really cool.
Well, I do.
Yeah, you've got Emperor's Children.
Get the box out if you don't.
We've never seen Pixar didn't happen, but there is an element, I think, of armies, GW splitting factions off and giving them their own codex, but then not giving them enough tools to be able to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And so they have to. So this sort of creates factions with inherent flaws. Now you might say that's all right, but you know, let's say tomorrow Games Workshop goes, new terrain system, guys. The effect is you're all on Planet Bowling Ball.
Yeah.
Now there are some armies that are long in the tooth that would be able to adapt. Guard, Marines, regular Chaos Space Marines, Eldar, Orcs. There's a lot of factions that would be able to be like, sweet, I've got units available, either whether they're in my collection already or I have to buy them, but I've got units available that I can essentially adapt to that new meta. But then you've got armies, I would say, like World Eaters, who would be sat in the corner in the fetal position crying because what can they do? And so it comes back to what I said before. You know, I am undermining what I was saying before, but I always try and present myself with a balanced viewpoint. I know that I said if you can't deal with 10 Aquilans, it's your fault. Now that you should still be able to deal with 10 Aquilans, but it's kind of a, you know, there's definitely an element there of certain factions couldn't deal with that. I think everyone could, but it's kind of an example of like certain factions would be able to deal with that easier than others. And there's definitely an element of if metas shift, if terrain shifts in a drastic fashion, there are certain factions which start getting locked out. And I think that is a problem with GW splitting factions off into full-blown factions that really shouldn't be full-blown factions. I know you all want to have your own special Dark Angel Codex, your special World Eater Codex, your special Emperor's Children Codex, but why did you need to have a special codex for that? You've got like 3 boxes, motherfucker, and a Primarch. Like, how are you building a codex around this?
5 boxes.
You got five units, 5 boxes.
Right. So you've got the standard Marines that split into 2. You've got the Coneheads. You've got the Noise Marines. You've got the noisy boss man. You've got the Lord Exultant, you've got Fulgrim, and you've got Lucius 7.
So and in all fairness, I would just put all of the like characters apart from Fulgrim under one umbrella, because it's like, you know, it's a character. It's not like a full blown kit. Do you know what I mean?
It's a new faction. You know,
no,
will get padded out.
So, you say that, but look at Votann.
We don't know what their next release wave looks like.
Yeah, I do.
Their space wars, they deserve to rot in hell anyway.
Okay, so, well, we'll get past your dwarf racism in a moment. that transcends all game systems as well. Simon, the moment someone breathes rock and stone near him, he just goes apoplectic and sees red, starts shaving beards off everywhere.
Anyway, the world would be a better place if squats had just been left squatted.
Well, okay.
In my world,
I don't disagree. I think they were definitely a bit of a cash grab. And this really upsets people. And every time I say it, people genuinely go, "No, Mordian, that's too far as a joke." But I'm not joking. Votann should have been an expansion to the Tau Empire. It should have been a new alien auxiliary race that was added to the Tau Empire. That's how it should be. And then suddenly Votann aren't waiting ages for their own like separate release, and like they get a crew auxiliary detachment, they could have like a Votann auxiliary detachment, because typically, honestly, right, and I know Votann players, all 12 of them out there are gonna disagree with me here, but every Votann army that I have played has been the same, and there's a reason they've been the same, because they've only got 6 units to pick from. So, and it's like and they're not the same like edition to edition. But if I play Votann in 8th, all the 8th edition Votann lists are the same. If I play Votann in 9th, all the 9th edition Votann lists are the same. If I play Votann in 10th, all the 10th edition Votann lists are the same. And they're only really slightly different between editions as well. And it's just like, because they've not got enough units to pick from, and also they've only, when they've got good units and bad units in addition, they can only pick the good ones. So it's like in like 9th edition, you see Hexon land fortresses everywhere. No, 10th edition, sorry, Hexon land fortresses everywhere. Well, of course you do, because if they've only got one like good vehicle, that's the one you're going to see.
Yeah,
because it's not like with Guard, where even if like Leaven Rough Punishers are absolutely dog shit, some mad bastard's still going to run loads of them because he loves them. Yeah. But yeah, I think GW should be consolidating factions, not splitting them out further and further. It creates long-term problems, I think.
Yeah. You get into a new faction. I don't know what other people like, but I've gone into Emperor's Children wise-eyed open that it is a small. We talked about this the other week on one of the previous episodes. That actually for me that was quite a pull, because it means I'm not sat there like my Raven Guard looking at 6.5 million different units that I'm thinking, will I ever need to paint that up in the future?
I suppose.
So, and actually you kind of get it in the ground floor, and then as it grows organically over 5 years, then you just add it as and when, if it grows organically. So I can see it from both points of view.
Interesting. Yeah, I suppose getting into a long beard faction like Marines, Orcs, Eldar, Guard, and so on, it's like, well, how do you know which units are good and which units are bad?
Yeah.
There's 100 to pick from. And if you pick a bad one, it's not like you can get your money back.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to a smaller faction, it's like you've only got 6 units to pick from. So if you pick badly, it's not the end of the world. You can it's relatively simple to if you get a bit of everything, you'll hit the nail on the head eventually.
Yeah.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
I mean, that's good, but that's just as I paint at a glacial pace, so hey ho.
Oh man.
But yeah, anyway, this is a long drawn out thing from. I thought we needed more terrain on our last battle.
I think the conversation has like a leaf on the wind. It has floated around. It's gone into different nooks and crannies. There we go.
Yeah, fair boy. On a completely other note, I am keep looking at the Solar Auxilia and wondering if I can make those into Steel Legion. Steel Legion thingies.
Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
I think they can.
They don't have that many weapon options. That's a problem. That's either Volkite or Bust.
Yes, that's it. You either buy the Volkite guys or you buy the Las Rifle guys. But there are obviously the 30k weapon sprues, which would allow you to convert them to more 40k style things.
We've got a load. I don't know how they go together. We might need to buy a box and have a play around with them and see if it's easy enough to but all the actual Volkites look like they have got arms already attached, which should be a bit of a pisser.
To be fair, Volkite guys could easily be used as plasma gun guys in 40k.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get some cross compatibility going on.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad shout actually.
So Simon,
anyway,
not anyway. Simon, looking at Solar Auxilia, are you going to be running the regular humans at our next game?
No.
Why not? How dare you?
I'll compromise because I can use them because for me the conscripts is that Raven Guard have got a right of war that revolves around having conscripts in the air.
Ah,
So
there you go. You can have a
I
mixture.
might compromise, but I did not find it. All joking aside, I did not find that list fun to play against or look at that and go, I want to play that list.
Okay.
In any shape, way, or form.
That is both disheartening, but also very heartening. Disheartening because now I won't get to make you cry with it again, but also heartening because it means that other people at tournaments may have the same response. Mordian comes to 30k.
Yeah, but then I think you played the list in the one mission that it suits. If you played it against one of the, I don't know because I'm not familiar enough with the missions, how it would. But all joking aside, if we were going to a regular games night and I was coming up against that list on a regular basis, I would be like, yeah, I'm not playing him.
Oh my God, Simon! He's played one game. He's played one game. This motherfucker brought 3 contemptors, and he's complaining about my third line tanks.
I'm complaining about
my God. The heresy mind cannot comprehend the power of his Imperial Guard.
No, I genuinely have got no idea how competitive that list would be. But it was just, and it's not just that. I think in any game system where you've got someone with that amount of dice to roll against you, it's not that much fun.
You need to be very good on the joke. Like I said, joking aside, if you were to run something like that competitively, you need to get very good at the clock. You have to be aware of that because you would be potentially abusing time if you weren't on it like a car bonnet. It's interesting. I've been reading a little bit into Heresy Militia, and the general perception of them. 90% of people say they're absolutely trash, like utter trash tier. Like you can never win a game with them. But there's just like 10% of people that say Militia are absolutely broken. Like you can really like just overrun you can overrun 9 out of 10 games just through the fact that you get so many more dice than everyone else and most Marine players. So like here's the thing, most Marine players bring very elite armies. Like yours is quite an elite army.
That's incredible. Yeah.
That's the standard. That's like, when I played against Chansey and his Dark Angels, he had the same amount of dudes as you did. So it's like, that's actually because when you're playing a game like Heresy, for a lot of people it's their side games. They want armies that they can build up quickly and not.
I have got that list that I've got.
Exactly. And then, so because of that, there is this element of, well, a Marine's only got 1 wound, and it doesn't really matter if he's a 10-point tactical Marine or 22-point warder breacher that the Pale Fists get with like shields, axes, all this kind of stuff. If he fails a 3-up save, he's dead.
Yeah.
And there's this element that if I have a 2-point conscript who can kill a 20-point 1-wound Marine, that's an insane trade.
I don't even think it's. I genuinely don't. I think this is just a game system, and I play you obviously more than anyone else, and your natural inclination is to take masses of whatever whatever I want.
I'm a Horde guy.
Yeah, so when you play a lot of Hordes, and it is here's a bucket full of dice, here's another bucket full of dice, make 18 saves, and then you do that for half an hour, and then you go, right, here's my turn, and you've got like 15 minutes of moving your 7 units. And again, this is all, first world problems and the armies I generally play. But it's the same, we've said this before, you don't like playing Knights because it's a stat check army, and it's, whereas that you played in that is, it's like really weird stat check army because you've got a shitload of tanks, you've got a shitload of men, and it's just like, right. And it's just like, here's a handful of dice, here's another handful of dice, here's another handful of dice.
Which aspect of it do you think was worse, the infantry or the tanks? Worst to play against. I felt like the infantry were fairly. You managed the infantry very effectively. I think the tanks were the problem. That's my takeaway from it.
The infantry's fine. Yeah, I could kill the infantry, but then but when I said to you, I said I know this is how this. I knew how this was going to play out the following turn, because it's like you go in and you smash a wave of infantry, and then it's just like, yeah, but I'm still 12 inches away from your tanks, and then you're just going to go, bosh. You know, and it was interesting you said you had no way of dealing with my Terminators, but in one turn you killed half of them. You know, on that fifth turn, I think I only had, or you certainly killed 4 or 5. You certainly killed 4. It might have been 5.
I got one good hit, didn't I? With I don't know what weapon it was. Maybe the Demolisher cannon.
Yeah. So you know, and I know like 10 heavy support with 10 las cannons is frowned upon, but that's because most people may be running only 2 or 3 vehicles.
Yeah.
You know, and actually all you needed to do was 1 round of shooting at half them, and then all of a sudden you're then needing 5s to penetrate and 6 to destroy. And you know, off 5 dice, it's not like you're doing it off 40 dice. You're doing it off 5. So I don't know how that will play out, but I think it's just we've played that game. It was weird because we played that game before,
but now on 30k,
40k.
Yeah,
and it's like literally. And you looked at it and I go, I know what's going to happen here. And that's not a slight on you or me. It's like, you know, you're going to screen me out. I'm going to kill an awful lot of infantry. And then you're just going to go.
Yeah.
And, which is exactly, I mean, that's how that list plays, you know. And it seems to do it really, really. But I don't know how that would go because I've not got the experience.
No, I think you're right. I think
players watching this and screaming at me.
No, I think you're right. I think, look, you don't necessarily have to be a heresy player to be able to identify things fairly quickly, which work and don't work. So I would say definitely that the militia list that I ran was probably the way you want to run militia if you want to actually try and win. Like tanks and infantry, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And I think in a funny sort of way, it was quite fortuitous that I did run that, because obviously I didn't know what was in your heresy list, but it turned out you had quite a good heresy army fundamentally because of contemptors and a big las cannon squad. But I think if we, I think it's very important to sort of acknowledge that the militia can play completely differently from game to game. So like hypothetically let's do a militia versus Raven Guard game again. Okay.
Yeah.
This time I am very limited on tanks because I don't take industrial stronghold. So the most vehicles I could include in the list would be 3 Russes, not 3 squadrons of Russes, 3 Russes. They don't come in squadrons because the militia, the whole thing is, unless you come from an industrial stronghold, you didn't get access to really very much armor. So now I'm in a situation where I've either got, and let's be real here, 3 Russes in that situation might as well be 0 Russes.
Yeah, which I agree, because I'll just block them. Yeah.
So now the Russes go away, and let's go for complete. You're going to say, "Oh, Tim, it's the same thing," but no, bear with me. Now we go really heavy into infantry. It doesn't have to be necessarily levies, but we're going hard into things like infantry.
Yeah.
If I ran like a pure infantry army, could be like 400, 500 infantry, could be an insane amount. But then I put on that infantry, I go full traitor, and I put on that infantry fucking the one that makes me have to charge you. I cause fear, but I have to charge you. And then there's the one that like it gives me like full rerolls to hit in combat, but only for the first round. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that sounds really powerful, but bear in mind, if I charge you with 50 conscripts, I'm hitting on 6s. Because I'm weapon skill 2 and your weapon skill 4. So so what happens is I have to try and charge you. And so what happens is my guys are all rushing forward, charging into your Raven Guard like Dark Furies. 50 attacks hit on 6s is going to be, with rerolls, probably about 8 hits, 9 hits. And then I roll to wound you, and I wound you with like 3, and then if you've got
Don't
artificer
get
armor,
rerolls.
if you've got I don't get rerolls to wound. If you've got artificer armor, then you just save all of those, and I charge 50 constants in, do no damage, and then you hit me back, and then I instantly break and run. Now, by the way, I'm not. This is not me saying that. I'll never run this because that would be unfun. I actually want to run that list. The point is like that completely flips the head on its game, because now you're holding the line as the waves of debased rabble are coming towards you, but you're just like slaughtering and slaughtering. That actually makes for a really fun game. I think. I think just what I'm trying to say is, it just finish the point. You can run militia like Guard, and I think they can be quite. As you said, you just sat there watching your opponent roll a million dice as you're taking models off. Or you can run militia totally the other way, and there's lots of in between these two. You can run the militia totally the way where they basically laminate themselves against you. But that's actually fun for both sides. It's less competitive. You're probably always going to lose if you do that as the militia guy, but it's also insane and looks great on the table. Over to you.
Or you could just build a balanced list that's not going as many of one thing as you possibly can.
I think it's difficult to do that with militia. I think that's where Solar Auxilia come in.
Yeah.
I think militia is the army of extremes. I think it is. I think it's that fundamentally.
You know what? You can play that game again, and I would play it again. I'm all joking aside, because and I do think the one thing that would fundamentally change it would be some line of slight blocking terrain.
Yeah,
which goes back to where we were, where actually it's not the Siege of Rax.
Yeah.
And I think that's so, because it didn't really make that much difference where I brought my deep strikers in.
No.
Because wherever they came in, they were going to kill something. I mean, that deep strike rule's ridiculously funny.
That I hope in 3rd edition they do tweak that slightly, because it's basically there's no disadvantage to deep striking.
Yeah, reporting for duty, which again, but not many stuff has deep strike. That's why those deliverers are so powerful, because they are the only deep striking terminators in the game. Believe it or not. Yeah. I'm so pretty sure. Someone might tell me differently, but I'm sure they are the only ones with inbuilt deep strike.
I think Chansey had some, but they were like inner circle Deathwing Knights. So maybe it's like only faction elite guys are getting it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think back to what the terrain was like on that was kind of the thing that's been going around my head since we played. I'm trying to think what the terrain was like when we played at Warhammer Fest and how much terrain was, and it would actually be really good to play a game against someone who knows the game inside out, understands how to, and I think that would be even though
I'm a little hesitant, because I've heard that the Horde Heresy scene is quite sweaty in terms of competitiveness, it would be quite good just to go to like 1 or 2 tournaments and then bring that knowledge back and see how they do their terrain to balance things out a little bit.
I met a guy at I'm sure he was at Teams, who ran the Heresy events at and it would just be good, someone, if we just go, look, this is what I've got, just want someone, to play a game against somebody who really understands the game and can point out the pit. I mean, we'll figure it out between us if we played enough games. I get that, but it will be quite interesting, because completely open to the fact that I might be well off track here, and actually that's how it plays. And I
think it's interesting because it does. I think that there should be somewhat an onus on, how we talk about player adaptability. There should be an onus on that. And now this is not me saying, Thyber, get good, take transports. That's not what I'm saying here. Player adaptability goes both ways. It's on me to bring less of a gun line, as well as, we've got to meet each other. You've got to meet each other in the middle, right? It doesn't all come from one side or from the other. Because I think the moment that if we added 40k levels of L-shaped ruins, I'm just going to. I'm not saying that, and I'm not being salty about it. No. I know you're not.
I'm just trying to say how do you make, what does a because we probably know, when we've done when we started doing the narrative battle reports, and the first one didn't work quite as well. We misjudged it. Looked great. We misjudged the terrain, and then they steadily got better. And and then the next one we did, and we had these massive, great big objectives, and then we realised, well, that didn't quite work, so we tweaked that. And then so by game 3, we had better objectives, we had a better terrain map, and we had, and if we went back and did a 4th game, or when we go back and do a 4th game, then actually we'll take that. But we were starting at a much higher base knowledge of 40k than we are with Heresy. So, and I think certainly if I was to expand my Raven Guard, I want to know, because I understand that 10 plasma 10 what do you call it, guys?
Las cannons.
10 las cannons, 10 melter guys, and 3 contemptors is a very, very, but it was literally just built because that's what I could do to get the points. Because I'm quite happy to drop the melter. The Terminators only came in because I couldn't get I wanted to get some Sky Hunters and stuff like that, and just to try and get a bit of anti-tank. So it would be nice to kind of go, actually, how do I make that a more rounded list that's not going to make me lose friends? Same with militia, actually how, maybe that is a way, and it's my list isn't, or whatever it is, and what we do is terrain to actually go, that's going to make for a whole much more. My personal takeaway was we didn't have enough terrain.
Yeah, the terrain was very narrative. Maybe you take some of those big buildings that we had in our deployment zones and slap those in the middle. That might work a little bit better. Yeah. I went for I purposely just threw something. No, I know it's not. I know it's not. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's, but you're absolutely right. You've hit the nail on the head there. It has to be us adding more terrain in, but there also has to be us as players adapting our list a little bit. Because if we're just going full send all the time against each other, like you said, just bringing friend destroyer lists, we're not going to want to play. We're not going to want to play Heresy, and that'd be a shame because I think we both agree Heresy is a fantastic rule set. Fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
But if we go full send each other and then we just add in 40k ruins, like I said, all that's going to happen is I'm going to turn around and bring every artillery piece that I've got, because artillery is essentially unnerfed in Heresy, and then we're back to square one.
You don't have to do it.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to.
Fight the urge.
I will fight the urge. Simon, if you tone your list down a smidge, I'll tone my list down a smidge, and then we'll put some terrain in, and we'll get we'll achieve perfection.
My point is, I don't know what to add to my list to make it. What do I mean? There's the new KD's next model. That's definitely going in. I mean, wicked.
I haven't seen it. I'll have to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he needs a helmet, because why is he not wearing a helmet? But yeah, he's basically just a serial killer. Honestly,
charming fellow.
Well, that's all. He's basically just a serial killer that's tolerated. No one likes him, but he's just tolerated because he go around. I think the Mordathan, their loadout is generally, I think they're better off with sort of melters. I think a lot of not with snipers.
There is an element of Heresy, if I may just cut in for a second. There is an element where units do tend to be able to take, like, it's 10 blokes who've all got 10 very good guns. Like, it's not like, so there is an element of that. So perhaps we have a little think around how do we tone lists down for Marines? Maybe force you to take a few more guys with bolters and bolt pistols and chainswords, rather than every squad being 10 las cannons, 10 melter guns, 10 plasma guns. There's an element of that. Yeah, the good old bolter needs to be represented. And likewise with me, I need to be bringing some, like, I can bring militia, Simon, where they've just got like las pistols and they don't even get a benefit for having a close combat weapon. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I could bring some of that stuff, and it's like these are real shit munchers. And so we just have this element of we're both bringing slightly toned down things, a bit like we do with Bolt Action.
I'll send you my later. There's a Heresy thing on the Discord now, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
We can stick it in there, and people who know what they're talking about can tell me what I should be looking to add next. Because I don't. I mean, yeah, my initial thought is more tactical squads in Rhinos.
Yeah, that's cool.
That certainly want some Sky Hunters, because originally the Sky Hunters were going to be my main source of anti-tank.
Nice.
But they kind of went on back order, and I had them on order for about 2 months before I was just like, sod it, I'm gonna have to build some las cannons.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sky Hunters would be good to get in, but yeah, it would be good to get some feedback and go, if you wanted to make a rounded list, what you do,
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know.
I could tone down the tanks. I could take some actual cavalry who are awful. I could tone down the infantry. I could take these beasts. There's like beast herder guys where you have like crocodiles and stuff get like herded into battle. It's hilarious. Yeah. What was that, Simon? It didn't come through.
Well, I don't even know what this is. What the hell is it? The spoiler squad. They look cool. Like,
I think they all get Volkite.
No, they seem to be waving chainsaws.
Oh no! They okay. That's my bad. I think they're basically like assault marines.
Yeah, destroyers with drum packs. So they have got they got Phosphex bombs and rad missile launchers. No idea what they do, but they.
I think Phosphex is like the old vortex grenade.
Ooh, wicked. But anyway, this is my point. There's a lot of cool shit like that I don't know about. And that goes right the way back to the whole point of it is there's cool shit like that. Why would you just want to run a 40k list with more of? And then that's I think and I think when we talked about when other battle reports we've watched online, when I saw your list, it didn't kind of go, that looks cool.
How dare you? How very dare you? I thought it looked great.
You would.
The marine mind, the marine player mind cannot comprehend the majesty of 200 infantry and double digits of tanks.
I play it all the time. You make me play it all the time.
You just become jaded. It's become jaded. That's how the Guard win. We don't win battles, we win wars. And we win wars by making the enemy give up. And this was the last time Simon ever appeared on the Mordian Glory channel.
A Legion Anvilus pattern Dreadcore drop pod. What does that do? I don't know. It looks cool as hell, right?
I think it lets you put 20 Marines in it. It's quite cool.
Really?
Yeah.
And then there's a Legion Charybdis Assault Claw. No idea how to pronounce that. So yeah, so that could go in. Then we've got a Legion Sokar Stormboard, £940 50p at time of asking. So
Right. Do you want to know what I'm going to... Simon, do you want to know how I'm going to adapt my list?
Are you going to buy me 2 of them?
No, I'm not. Are you on the Warhammer shop right now?
Yeah.
I want you to search for Arvus, Arvus.
Oh, the little drop pod thing. The
Arvus lighter. It is
cool.
A shuttle. It's 60 points and comes with no guns. Yeah. It only has 2 hull points.
Yeah, but it looks wicked.
I'm going to be getting several of those. We are going in with the first wave. Means more bugs for us to kill. You smash the entire area. Grab those 2 legs. You get me. We get you, sir. That's what it's full Glendafu drop, baby.
But now there you go. That's what you think. Now you're thinking correctly.
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Legion Moritat with Volkite Serpent. Right, I don't know, but that's what KD's next is. So I could can I get him running around with 3 or 4 of these buggers?
Yeah.
I don't know. Can I? Are they any good? I don't know. Someone tell me. But they look wicked. There you go. He's got like 2 guns, like a gunslinger. Leviathan Dreadnought, wicked.
Yeah, chonk boys, big chonkies. Yeah, we gotta get some of those. Tell you what, man. You would never have to worry about my infantry ever again if you took a Leviathan Dreadnought with 2 Grav Flux Bombards. It fires 2 7-inch templates. Not 5-inch, 7-inch templates. Like, it's literally just like entire bricks of 50 guys disappear in a turn.
Right, okay, so they're in stock, so I'm going to get 3 of them fuckers.
Raven Guard's quick to paint, man. You just go black prime, a bit of silver, job done. Boom, slap it down. Get a finger scoop of Astro Granite, smear it on the base. Finger scoop the Astro Granite, smear it on the base. That's how, mate. That's how.
They've got they've got brown on them. They've got, honestly. How very dare you?
I'm so ready for the Arvis Lighter full Starship Troopers list. I'm talking like 12 Arvis Lighters. They're terrible, by the way. Like, if I brought 12 Arvis Lighters, you would win the game before we started. But it would look so good because, you get to intercept them when they come in, by the way. So as they're coming in, you're like shooting them down like flat guns. Like, oh, it's a hot drop. It's so cool, man.
Right, there's an Arquita Bombard with a Spicula rocket system.
I don't even know what that is.
What the hell's that? I mean, it sounds like, Spicula rocket system. It sounds like something you get on an Indian.
I'm gonna have my Vindaloo. I'm gonna have my Corva. I'll have my Spicula rocket. It sounds tasty actually. Now you made me want to have a curry, man. I love curry.
How much do you want your Vindaloo? I want it Spicula rocket system. Spicula's levels.
That's how you judge the heat. It's the Spicula rocket system. That's how you judge the heat of the food.
Anyway, this is all proving my point from the very beginning of this video.
Oh, that's okay. It's all right being right.
So there we go. So anyway, so if you can get me 2 Legion Sokar Stormbirds, please. So £940.50. It's apparently an expert kit, so we'll have to pay Brownie to build it for me because that'll be beyond me. So he'll be fine with that. And I've also noticed as well, I don't know what this does, but a Mastodon Super Heavy Assault Transport, £411.
They're actually quite good.
Are they?
Yeah. I don't know if they're good now, but they were quite spicy. Yeah, it's like the Imperial Guard Stormlord that can transport like 50 dudes.
Yeah.
It's like that, but for Marines.
Yeah.
And I think they're super. It's an apocalypse style unit. It's like I'd have to know that you were bringing it, otherwise it would just be like just like mashing my entire army.
Well, I've just ordered KD's next.
Nice, you've actually done it. Nice, holy shit, man, I love it.
I hope I can swap his head because why is he not wearing a hat? It makes no sense.
You'll be able to. You'll be able to do it yourself if you have to.
Yeah. A Black Shields Detachment Army. I don't know what a Black Shields Detachment Army is. Right, anyway. So, yeah. Point in case. Lots of cool shit that you can have.
Black Shields are Marines that have left their Legion and be like, screw you guys, I'm going to form my own Legion with Blackjack and Hookers. So they're not part of any Legion. They basically wipe their Legion markings off and they go and make their own with other Black Shields from other Legions. They come and make their own club, basically.
All right, wicked. Oh, well, there you go. Apparently, the description is he's seen as an ill omen by his brothers. On Kievar in his youth, he was known as a Bloodclaw, an infamous murderer, once condemned to rot on the prison moon. In the grim shadow wars fought by the Raven Guard, in furtherance of the Emperor's grand plan, his murder-honed skills were employed with grim regularity. What a geezer this fella is.
What an absolute geezer. Day in the life of a true Raven Guard geezer.
Thanks to his pinpoint aim paired with fulcrum hand cannons. What's a fulcrum hand cannon? I don't know.
Why didn't you tell me there was a guy in the bathroom with a hand cannon?
I mean, honestly, look at that. There we go. Let me go have a quick look at. Sorry, you got me all excited now.
You'd be excited. You'd be excited. That's okay. It's nice to see. The excitement is palpable.
Right, here we go. Where is it? KD's next. Right, let's have a look. So, rules. Ill-omened. What does that rule do? Can't be taken as compulsory HQ. Only as a non-compulsory HQ. There we go. Blood Crow. Not affected by night fight. There we go. That's how we could make that one interesting.
Night fighting.
Night fighting.
Night fighting. If we did the same game again, night fighting absolutely diddles me, but that's not a bad thing.
That might make it really easy for me because I can get round of all the night fighting.
So you get round the night fighting, and for me, all of my guys at -1 morale, so they're already pretty pissed morale, so now they're even lower. And I can't shoot you outside of 24-inch range, and when I can shoot you, it's -1 to hit. So night fight, but I can get round night fighting as militia, it's really hard to get around night fighting, unless you're just willing to spend loads of points on things like searchlights. On solo auxilia, I'm very easy to get around night fighting because I've actually got good equipment and good guys.
This guy's got so many bloody Rampage 3. Don't know what that does. Sudden Strike 1, Shrouded 4+, Move Through Cover, Pathfinder, Brutal 2, Grenades, Concussive 1, Pinning, Precision Strikes 4+, Sniper.
He's loaded up. He's loaded up.
Yeah, bargain. 175 points.
Who could say pounds then? I was like, fuck.
165 pounds. No, it's 35 quid. What cheap?
Okay. Is he Forge World, is he?
Well,
he probably will be for £35. He might.
He's an expert. New release expert. Yeah, so he's bound to. Yeah, he's going to be resin, isn't it?
That's good though. I actually don't mind characters being in resin because you get so much more detail on them. They're very crisp but bog standard stuff in plastic, detailed shit in resin, I actually don't mind. A lot of people hate resin and stuff, but I actually quite like working with resin and metal models. They have their own advantages and disadvantages, but we won't get into that right now.
Last thing, well, since I do need to go short.
I need to go as
well. New Knights have been previewed.
For Chaos or Imperial?
Imperial.
Mm-hmm. Well, I look forward to the tournament scene being dominated by them for 6 months. What's the edit? I haven't seen it. What's the? I mean, by the time this goes out, everyone will have seen it.
So there's a defender kit coming out, which is like a knight that stands out front and protects the other ones.
Okay.
And there's 4 detachments, no combat patrol, and there's 2 kits in total. One with the shields and one with the preceptor and Sir Hector in.
Oh, cool.
Which is quite good.
So they're getting a new kit, 2 new kits.
New kit, mate. Well, it's the same kit, but then it's one kit can make all the variations.
Oh, look. So I've just pulled it up now. Featured news: Imperial Knights, Knight Defenders, the greatest building-sized bodyguard in the Imperium. Oh, that is like that. That definitely looks like a new kit. He's got a plasma cannon and he's got like a big radar cannon or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Interesting. He's got a giant bubble shield on him.
Yeah, no, that's
it. Oh, the codex art looks beautiful, doesn't it? That's a really, really nice look. Holy moly, that's a beautiful looking codex right there.
Yeah, it is nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say, credit where credit's due, GW has been absolutely smashing it with the codex art recently. Like, every codex I've seen has been a pleasure. Like, if you saw that codex there, it would make you want to get into Knights. It looks badass.
Yeah. That new kit looks wicked, to be fair.
Well, speaking of new things and wrapping up this episode, I know I've already showed you, but I'll show you again, but pretend you've not seen it already. I've been working on some stuff recently.
Really? I have no idea about this.
Make ready! Take aim! I've got some...
Wow, I did not know that was coming. Oh my word.
My seat has fallen out from underneath me. I've been working on some epic 15mm sized Napoleonics. I've got some, though the other ones with the line infantry. See if I can get the camera to focus on these ones. It might not do it because I'm being a bit... Come on, camera.
We have behind it.
I know. There we go. There we go. It's close enough. Look at those. Yes. Scotland the Brave. Something like that, anyway.
Right.
Yes.
There you go. There goes all your viewers in Scotland.
There we go. Now, well, if you want to really upset all the Scottish people, you go, okay, the noob. It's all right. I worked in Scotland for 3 years. It's fine. It's not a problem.
Well, you know you're banned.
And now I'm banned. But no, I've been working on some epic Waterloo 15 millimeters. It's very, very cool. It's a project that I think I'll be working on until next year, bit by bit, bringing it together. But Simon, I don't mean to alarm you, but the British are coming. And I'm going to be getting them built and painted up, and then the French will be coming after that. And well, we might have an opportunity to play some epic Waterloo. I would expect it, for dear viewers watching this, I would expect it 2026. It's probably going to be a good 6 months to a year away, but first inklings now, and if it comes sooner than that, then there you go, something to be excited for. I want to try and get them done before 11th edition comes out, which will be in about a year from now. So I can get them done.
Just over a year, I reckon.
Yeah, well, maybe even just under, because leaks all come as well. So I want to get them done, I think, by the end of this year. I want them painted so that beginning of next year we can start playing. But it might be sooner than that. I am very much enjoying building and painting them. I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is what you get. So you don't paint the flags. You get these little paper cutouts. Look at all the different flags, all the different regiments. Very, very cool. There you are. So I'm going to be building and painting many, many of them. I've got about 1,000 British models to do first. Currently, I've done 120. Got quite a lot to go. Then I've got the same with the French. Which would you play, Simon? Would you play for Britannia, or would you be Vive la France? Which side?
Well, I can't fancy the Prussians, but
they're coming afterwards. Yeah,
whichever, or whatever you want to play. It's your stuff.
Nah, but which side? If I slapped two armies down in front of you and said, Simon, which one would you pick? Which one would you go for?
Well, naturally, I want to play the British, but
fair enough.
Play the French. I'm quite happy playing the French.
Well, I don't mind playing either. The British are the more elite force, Simon. French get masses of conscripts. So
really, right, I'll play the French just to stop you doing it.
I thought you'd say that. No matter what game system it is, Simon, if there's an opportunity for me to take a horde and to take conscripts, I will do it. I will do it. And on that note, let's wrap this bad boy up. I think we've covered a real range and breadth of topics today. We've talked a lot about 30k. We've touched upon 40k. We've been comparing and contrasting the systems a little bit, saying how some things could be learned from 40k for 30k, maybe in terms of like terrain and stuff, perhaps. And we've even Simon's bought a new model because he's been so inspired by the 30k hype talk, which is cool. I'm definitely probably going to come away. If you see 6 Armors Lighters in my pile of shame soon, Simon, don't be surprised. And and we've even touched upon a long distance future project of epic Napoleon. But Simon, as always, it's been a pleasure to have you on, man. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries, always a pleasure.
And I also want to say, I hope you guys at home enjoyed this video as well. Let us know what you think down in the comment section below. Put any questions down there as well for future SaltCast episodes. We'll try and pick those up and talk about. There's any particular good talking points, whether it's hobby related, 30k, 40k, bolt action. We talked about bolt action today as well, didn't we? And so yeah, get your thoughts down there and any topics of discussion that we might be able to pick up. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, we'll see you guys next time. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and Patreons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.